So I was looking at my achievements list recently and I noticed that this game hasn't been completed yet. If I want to be considered a true gamer, I gotta have the gamer score to prove it. Well, I'll show you, Assassin's Creed. I mean, how hard can this be? It's not like there's 100 flags per level.
Prince of Persia, aka the spiritual ancestor to the Assassin's Creed series, and oh my, has this game been reproduced every year, sometimes having twins. Slow the f down, guys. You've got more children than my PlayStation Vita collection. The original pitch for this game was for it to be the next game in the Prince of Persia series, dubbed Prince of Persia Assassins. Game designer Patrice Desolate was on the helm of producing the sequel, but eventually strayed into a brand new IP. He wanted to make the game in similar vein towards the Prince of Persia Sands of Time game, but in a more Arabic setting, and careful consideration was made when designing the main character, Altair ibn Ahad, with the help of animator Kainwing, giving Altair white robes, a red belt, and a praying bird type of design, the eagle being a very heavy motif for the entirety of the series. On top of the historical elements, Desolate wanted a modern futuristic utopia to be linked to the assassin's lineage, hence the creation of Sturgo and Altair's descendant, Desmond Miles, and how his role within the Assassin's Creed fits in. The first game trailer was showcased on E3 2006, originally developed for the PlayStation 2, now developed for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 generation. The game eventually released on November 13, 2007 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and 5 months later on PC. Now that's a lot of details for the development cycle, and mind you, there's still a lot to talk about, from the musical score by Jesper Kyd, who's famous for the Hitman series, the voice cast and their face recognition of the characters they're portrayed as, the Game of the Year nominations and the anticipation for the game's release, or even the development hell for the game that had to be made in the first place. If I talked about all of that, the intro would probably be longer than the review itself, so I just want to do a quick summary of the overall setting for Assassin's Creed. Now for me personally, I didn't get into the series until the second game, Assassin's Creed 2. In fact, I beat the second game before beating the first one, so I thought if the second game was that good, then I gotta play the first game to see how it all started. I didn't like this game. I will respect this game for what it's done to the series, and without it, the Assassin's Creed series wouldn't even exist. This is the first game, and Ubisoft was trying something new here that thankfully paid off, for better or worse. Here's my issue when I played through the game. It was long. I'm the type of player that likes to do everything, but because of how repetitive the game was, I felt completely drained from the experience. I gave the game a second chance on my Let's Play channel and played it on the PlayStation 3, and I still didn't get much enjoyment from it. But to be fair, I was an impatient child around 14 years of age. I'm sure by now I've matured, and now I'm willing to give this game another shot.
To this day, there's no remaster or remake of the first game, and if I was a betting man, which I am, it's actually a huge problem I have, that Smash Bros trailer with the new Altair font made me think that the reason why they're not porting the game on modern consoles is because they're having something special planned for that game. But that's mostly wishful thinking. Smash Bros was actually the reason I wanted to play this game. It reminded me, oh yeah, Assassin's Creed is this thing, I should probably check that out. I'll be covering the game using the Xbox One's backwards compatibility and give it a grade whether or not this game deserves to graduate through Video Game Academy or drop out like Altair in The Witcher 2.
Guess they'll never learn.
That's actually a perfect analogy. I'm glad that reference was there.
First things first, the controls for this game. Oh boy, the controls for this game. And to be fair, what I'm about to say pertain towards the sequels up until Revelations, but to start off with the positives, they work as fine as you expect. The face button pertains to specific action commands, as the A button is for movement, the X button is for attacks, the B button is for stealth and evade commands, and the Y button is for viewpoints. The left trigger helps you target a specific enemy or victim of your choosing, while holding the right trigger makes your character on alert status, and combine that with the face button gives you more action commands. For instance, holding the A button makes you blend in with the citizens, but using RT and the A button at the same time makes you sprint. Free running in particular, you'll need to execute very well, as the majority of the time you'll be free running from rooftop to rooftop towards the next destination. This is by far the fastest way to maneuver, since the ground floor is filled with NPCs. But I feel they could have made this a lot more easier to control. Look at my hand real quick. For most casual players, you'll most likely use your index finger on the right trigger and your thumb on the A button to move at your max speed. But because of that, now nothing is on the right stick to control the camera. That is, unless you decide to play claw grip. I have the Assassin's Creed series to blame as to why I hold my controller like this in every 3D platformer. Fun fact for my 14-year-old self, this is how I used to hold the controller as a kid. What the f was I thinking? This is ridiculously uncomfortable. Now, some of you may think, oh, that's just preposterous. I'm sure the game isn't designed for you to look around and parkour at the same time. Then follow up that sentence with, wait, did I really just say that? To be fair, when climbing up watchtowers to synchronize your map, it's not all that bad since the focus is a lot more slower paced and designed more towards figuring out how to climb said tower. But when you have a bunch of guards following you and attacking, free running becomes a lot more difficult without the camera control. Now, running isn't the only option you have since you can also fight against the enemies. Whenever you're in combat, you can attack with the X button, or if an enemy attempts to attack you, you can hold the right trigger and press X to counterattack. This usually leads to either damaging your opponent or straight up one-shotting them. The B button can be used to grab blocking opponents or Tekken enemies grab if you use the right trigger and the B button. And there's a combo system where if you manage to time the X button properly, you can do a finishing move by the third attack. Now this is used when you're on high alert. There's 3 different statuses for your characters depending on the situation. Well, technically 5, but it's only a variation of the alert and stealth statuses. There's the white status where you're completely silent to enemies noticing you. The yellow status when you need to be more cautious as guards will begin to suspect you from doing bad deeds or just not like you for some reason. And the red status where guards will straight up attack you. The guards are always on high alert whenever you're doing the slightest amount of pacing. They go from confused and dazed at Altair acting like a monkey to kill him! Kill the infidels! In a matter of milliseconds. When that happens, and trust me, it will always happen, you can either deal with the guards by killing enough of them so that they retreat, or run away to the nearest hiding spot without the guards noticing. The first chapter starts you off in a parkour tutorial, and if you need more practice in your combat, there's the practice range. While you do have options such as blocking, dodging, and grabbing your opponents, most of these abilities, including parkour abilities like grabbing a ledge after falling, are locked behind certain chapters. So it makes me wonder why even have all those abilities in the first place if you're just gonna take them away. I think they could have just started off having Altair being powerless and limit his movesets, and then gradually gain those extra abilities so that it would feel as though Altair is progressing. Furthermore, the combat itself gives you so much in terms of dealing with the opponents, but if you're a casual player, you could just straight up spam the X button and still get the finishing result. Sure, grabbing might be easier and useful, especially against Templars, but aside from maybe the counter function, which most of the time will not even work if you're in the middle of a combo, it's best to just attack with the X button or run away and hide. Now for stealth kills, I'm all about that. There are 2 main ways to do so. One is to go behind an opponent to stealth kill them from behind, or to use a throwing knife from a distance. Oh yeah, this dude can't swim. There aren't too many instances where you need to be in surrounding bodies of water, but times where you need to do so, controlling Altair onto the next platform is literally a matter of life and death. While I still stand by that the parkour controls are not all that bad, there will be occasions where Altair will do something out of your free will, deny you the purpose of doing something you want him to do, or in cases where the terrain is too precise, just fall off into the abyss. Some markers that show pigeon coops can help you dictate your way to falling down haystacks safely, but these things blend in too much from the background and aren't nearly as bountiful as you hope them to be. Although on the topic of graphic fidelity, I will say that the game's environment looks gorgeous. It's filled with realistic textures, beautiful scenery, and each city has a distinct color pattern, from the dark, gloomy, and unsaturated Acre, the sepia tones of Damascus, at least when they work. I've gotten some visual bugs and screen tearing, so maybe the 360's hardware isn't as capable of rendering such intense cement, or maybe it's the emulation from the Xbox One's hardware, I don't know, but this can be very distracting. The issues persist further with the character models. I seriously think that this is the one thing that dates everything in terms of the 7th generation of consoles. Most of these NPCs are always the same, from their dirty, wrinkly old faces to even the voice acting.
And for that matter, why is it that there's so many citizens that are not only in distress, but sound and look exactly the same?
Good you came along when you did. Another minute and they would have made off with me. Good you came along when you did. Another minute and they would have made off with me. Thank you. I'll find a way to repay this kindness, I swear it. Thank you. I'll find a way to repay this kindness, I swear it.
Sorry, I have nothing to offer in return for your sacrifice. But I shall see to it that my brothers know you are a friend. Sorry, I have nothing to offer in return for your sacrifice. But I shall see to it that my brothers know you are a friend.
That's literally the pure definition of copy and paste.
Let's get onto the investigation missions that you do, because they really do appear quite often. The quickest but most common missions you'll see are saving citizens, and they usually reward you with bodyguards that will distract guards, or scholars that will help you infiltrate through specific buildings, or inside the city if you need to infiltrate there in the first place.
What you
Or, you know, you could just book it and hide before the guard gets you. However, the ones that are mandatory for progressions are usually eavesdropping, interrogation, theft, and assassin challenges. Eavesdropping is pretty simple. You find a place next to the witness and press the Y button to learn what they are saying. Theft is you silently steal letters or items that pinpoint to the next assassinations. The more diverse missions out there will be the informant missions, when you are tasked with either impressing your fellow Creed members with a race or by assassinating witnesses that will report to the Templars on the identity of the Creed members. Unfortunately, these are also the most frustrating missions to deal with. Not so much with the racing, since I think the flags that they put during the race are bountiful enough and they give you plenty of time to finish them, but stealthily dealing with Templars and guards on ground level can easily be painful. You have to make sure no guards are present during your assassination, which is easier said than done because sometimes the guards you need to kill keep on following the same pathway as other guards, or perhaps an unsuspecting guard that's not your target that's also off camera can just hate you for no reason when you've done absolutely nothing wrong and fail the mission because of that. As for the interrogation missions, you just follow a politician or activist into a back alley and beat the crap out of them until they give you the information they need. And they all happen to be twins or triplets of each other, again, repeating character models. Now luckily, if you want to beat each section of the game, you don't necessarily have to do every mission. You can just do a minimum of 2 or 3 missions relating to each assassination targets, and to my knowledge, saving citizens is purely optional, but they do make your job easier when progressing through the story. There are 2 types of citizens that do impede in your progress when playing through the game, and that is the beggars and the pushers. The beggars are more of a nuisance than anything, but they add nothing to the gameplay. They are there just to annoy you. Ladies, I wear a raggedy white robe. You think I'm made out of money?
You don't understand. I'm poor, sir. I need the money.
Well, bitch, I got nothing either. Now for the pushers, on the other hand, they can suck a These guys are mentally disabled, so it makes sense why they flail around so aggressively, except, no, it doesn't make any f***ing sense, because they only push you. They affect no one around them, and when you're in their line of vision, they will keep pushing you. No matter how many times you avoid them, they will always magnetize towards Altair's hurt box and push constantly. And when there are more of those bastards, sometimes it becomes an infinite loop when they continue to push you back to back. Also, the guards don't care about these pushers because they can straight up push you into the guards and they will attack you. Every time I see these little f***ers, I just wanna stab them. But nope, the game counts them as innocent, so if you kill them, that's an automatic desync. The best way I could deal with these guys is, well, just to push them off myself. That works okay, but it's still cumbersome to do every time I see these guys.
Unfortunately, that's all you do in this game. It feels like this game is bloated with the same content. Sure, I think it's fun to sneak behind a politician and beat him up or parkour and collect flags to race against the time, but when I do it once already, why do I feel the need to do it 5 times more? That being said, what about the story? Does it have some similar faults as well, or is it actually the one beacon that shines through the samey nature of the game? Oh wow, that's actually finally installed. I guess this is the part where I spoil the story for a 12-year-old game.
Well, one easy spoiler for this game is that it ends on a cryptic cliffhanger, so it was very clear that a sequel was bound to happen anyways. God, I wonder what it's like for Ubisoft back in 2008. Did they plan out the entire Assassin's Creed lineage up to present day, or do they just come up with it as they develop the game? But the entire game actually takes place in the not too distant future of the year 2012. In context of the game's release, of course. Starring Desmond Miles, a descendant of Altair ibn Ahad, being held captive in a pharmaceutical company named Abstergo.
Why is it that it's always pharmaceutical companies that are the bad guys of the video game world? You think that Abstergo and Umbrella are in cahoots, or competitors?
The Animus is a matrix machine that links the DNA of its participants to gather memories from previous ancestors, and Abstergo needs Desmond to cooperate in locating the Apple of Eden by linking Altair's experiences. However, in order to pinpoint the specific memory on how he obtained the Apple of Eden, Desmond must roleplay Altair's experience from when he got demoted to a rookie after a botched job obtaining an artifact, to the assassination of 9 Templar leaders. I'll tell you this right now, I never really had an interest in the modern timeline. I think the world they set up was creative, but the characters feel pretty bland for me to really care about them, with Desmond being pretty monotone and rolling along with whatever Abstergo needs him to do, despite the fact that he knows that he's going to be tossed aside the curb when they don't need him anymore. Vidic is an okay bad guy. He's sympathetic in the sense that his goals seem to align with his philosophy, where he believes Abstergo is a necessary evil in order to save the world from an apocalypse soon to happen.
Yeah, remember when people thought that 2012 was the end of the world? What a crazy time we live in. Now in the year 2020, it's... more or less the same.
Other than that, he's a complete massive dick. They purposely made him unlikable by being impatient and stubborn. I get that he's the bad guy, but he just borders on irritating. I believe he could have been more interesting if they didn't make him such an obvious bad guy. It would have made his character more dynamic rather than static. And as for Lucy, she's there. She exists. She does have some sort of backstory where there's a reason why she's working for Abstergo. If you look at her messages with the company, she seems to be attached to her friend who committed suicide, and by the end of the game, it's revealed that she's actually a part of the Assassin's Creed. She's the most interesting character in the modern timeline, but personality-wise, she's as basic as cardboard. Pretty much by the books with her workload and only caring about Desmond just to ease his frustration. I'll say this much, however, that her character, along with Desmond, does improve over time in future games, but they failed to entice me in this game. Now, the past timeline, on the other hand, this was the part where I was more interested in. I vividly remember not liking Altair when I played through the game for the first time, but now that I played through it again, he completely grows as a character to the point where I can value him as a good leader. He started off arrogant and all over his head, and because of that, costed the Creed security, made a grudge with fellow assassin member Malik for losing his arm and costing his brother's life. Yeah, it took some time for him to evolve as a character, and when he's impatient and irritating, he really does grate on my nerves, but by the end of the game, he realizes his mistakes, understands that he's not perfect, and understands the true meaning of the Creed. The phrase, "nothing is true, everything is permitted," will be the theme throughout the entire Assassin's Creed series, and it shows how Altair is willing to seek the truth through his own terms, instead of following orders from an unknown goal he's out of the loop on, which, ironically...
This is your last chance, are you ready?
Your mentor, Al-Mualim, has actually taught you to become a better assassin, despite it being revealed that he's after the Apple of Eden for its almighty power, controlling the minds of Masayev's citizens and the entire Creed as a demonstration. For the side characters, I feel only Malik gets the most screen development. He is the one that you screwed over in the first place, so it makes sense that he would be bitter and resentful towards Altair, but eventually he grows to forgive him and even helps him during Al-Mualim's corruption. As for the 9 Templars you need to kill, most of them are, interestingly enough, based on real-life people back in 1191, during the Third Crusade. Not exactly, mind you, but the resemblance is there, like Robert de Sable being the real-life knight to King Richard, only instead of being assassinated by Altair in the game, in real life, the dude just died of old age. Yeah, they had to bend the rules a little bit in terms of historical accuracy. There's a reason why that warning is in the beginning of the game. I'm not gonna go through each of them one by one. Most of them are bad in the sense that they are the antagonists, but some of them have sympathetic natures behind them and reasons for what they do. Granted, some of them are also twisted in their nature on what they believe they're doing is the right thing, and some of them can straight up go fuck themselves. I'm looking at you, you fat piece of shit. That's pretty much it for the story. You are assigned to kill 9 Templars. Robert de Sable reveals that Al-Mualim is the 10th Templar. We deal with him, and that ends Altair's story. Now, there is the PSP game, Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, and you know, if I get a copy of this game, I would love to explore more of Altair's story, since I believe the world Ubisoft created was a mesmerizing one, and I'd love to see his story expanded upon. He will make another mainline appearance until Assassin's Creed Revelations, where our next protagonist, Ezio Auditore, takes the helm and researches on the old past of Altair's story. But in summary, yeah, I love the story and look forward to revisiting the second game and Bloodlines once I cover them.
So yeah, that's all I've got to talk about. I complained about the repetitive nature of the game, but I do admire its world building. Why is there still 5 minutes left in this video? Oh yeah, I wanted to 100% complete this game. Gotta show off that gamer score, am I right? Okay, what's the require? 420 flags? Are you high, Ubisoft?
Trying to get 100% synchronization is completely a different manner of its own right. Have you tried collecting 240 blue coins in Super Mario Sunshine? Imagine doing that but in a wider open world game and nearly twice the work. The only indication you have for collecting these flags and how many of them are there in each town and city is that there's a specific amount in each city. There's 20 in total in Masayev and 100 in total for each and every other world. Technically there's 3 different flag types for Acre, but they're all still located in Acre. In fact, I'll say something positive about the depressing and politically desolated city full of body burnings and murder. At least they know how to separate their flags for each territory. Jerusalem and Damascus bundles all 100 of their own flags across all of their cities, and good luck finding all the flags in the overworld kingdom, cause good god. Look at how big the map is. But not only do you have to figure out where all 420 flags are located, but there's also 60 specific Templars to kill. Now that doesn't sound bad, but they straight up don't tell you where they are or how many of them are there in each place you visit. And furthermore, some Templars you think are Templars don't count for the total. There's this dude with a red helmet like most Templars do, but he didn't count. Oh no, silly. It's this specific Templar you have to kill for the kill count. But oh no, there's always one thing about these damn completion bonuses, are there? Just imagine collecting 419 flags in total and you are one away from finally getting 100% memory synchro, when all of a sudden you can't find the last one.
You look up walkthroughs, video guides, anything, and revisiting every area you went through just to find that one flag, only to realize the game glitched it out of existence. I repeat, the game glitched the flag out of existence!
Meaning that the only way for you to get 420 flags for a true save file now
is to restart a new game and to do the process all over again and hope that the glitch doesn't happen again. Otherwise, you're gonna have to make a new save file after making a new save file and do that process over and over and over.
I'd make a weed joke if I wanted to just calm my ass down, but I'm too busy getting stoned.
To death.
Come back here!
Literally.
Now, thankfully for this review, I managed to collect every single flag with no issues whatsoever, but imagine if the game-breaking bug did occur. You couldn't get that flag because it disappeared on your save file, and the only way to get that flag back was to make a new save file. That's ridiculously redundant. I've completed everything I wanted to for this game, yet the game won't reward me because of a game-breaking bug? That's borderline evil.
Now, I know what some of you may be saying. Base, there's no reason for you to collect all those flags in the first place. You should have just beaten the game and move on to the second game, and I get that. Some games are just simply meant to be beaten, while other games are designed to encourage the player for 100% completion. I fall under the camp that if you're going to design a game where it's possible to complete the game, there better damn well be a good reason for implementing them. And all you get for completing Assassin's Creed 1 is 1000 gamer score. That's it. That's the bare minimum. And this is just for Xbox users. The PlayStation 3 version doesn't support trophies, and the same goes for the PC version. So if you complete the game in those versions, well, tough luck. You don't get anything. Wait a minute, I lied. There is one ability you unlock after 100% completion. You get to kill citizens without desynchronization. So yeah, that's a thing. At least now I can properly execute those damn pushers and beggars that always get in my way.
I need money, sir. I'm poor and sick and hungry.
This game is puzzling. I do believe that this is a modern classic. The world building is there, the gameplay shows potential, and it sets a precedence for future Assassin's Creed games. But the amount of bad game design after bad game design, repetitive missions, and bugs and glitches, I'm sorry. This game, I'm sorry, it doesn't deserve to graduate. Even if I take the 100% aspect out of the way, I didn't fully enjoy this game too much because of its repetitive nature. And yeah, I know the story is fascinating and I do fully enjoy that, but a video game is a video game first most, and if I didn't enjoy the video game but did enjoy the story, I might as well be watching a movie. Now, hey, I don't want to ruin your guys' enjoyment, this is just my experiences. If you guys manage to actually have fun with this game, I'm glad that you guys see something that I don't. Me personally though, I'd say proceed this game with caution and only if you're curious of how the Assassin's Creed series started. Otherwise, you can fully ignore these games if you please. There are some positive aspects of course, so I don't think it fully deserves a dropout, but I don't think it's ready for the outside world yet, so for the time being, this game gets held back a grade.
And during the few moments that we have left, we want to have just an off-the-cuff.
Man, I hate to say it, but after completing the first Assassin's Creed, I'm proceeding Assassin's Creed 2 with a lot of caution if I plan on 100% completing it as well. I do enjoy this game on its own, so at the very least, I don't think it's gonna be a bad experience, but I'm scared of 100%ing this game because it might be the same experience as the first game. Pray for me, folks.
It surprisingly went really well. A little bit of a grind when it comes to its collectibles, but I managed to find a good way to infinitely grind for money, and because the gameplay was able to diversify it by a long shot, I managed to fully 100% this game no problem, and because of that, I collected all the Bakugan. Shit, I completed the wrong game! This isn't me showcasing how much of a true gamer I am, this is me proving myself that I'm a casual for completing a licensed game!